Hello everyone, we're here at San Diego Comic-Con 2024. I'm Lucy, joined once again by Tam, and we are here with the BioWare team to talk more about Dragon Age, the Veilguard. So we've got creative director John Epler.
Hello, hello.
And creative performance director Ashley Barlow.
Hello, hi guys.
Hi. Now, I mean, look, we are both very big Dragon Age fans, and we have been waiting a very long time for this game, for the Veilguard, and we're very excited to see more of it. How does it feel from your side, finally being able to talk about it?
It's amazing. It's honestly just, I mean, it's been a thrill just being able to talk about it this last month and a bit. I've been on this project for its entirety, and just now getting to talk about and show off the hard work that the team's put together has been genuinely a thrill in my life, so.
Yeah, it's literally the first time that I've been able to publicly speak about it and to celebrate the work that's been done with the people that have made it. I mean, it's great.
Do you remember what the kind of objective was for the game, the mission statement? Because obviously it's been a really long time, and also these games, they evolve in really drastic ways from game to game. So as a team, when you came together, what was the mission statement for a new Dragon Age?
So, I mean, for us, a lot of it came down to where we left the story at the end of Trespasser. We'd set up what we wanted to do, we set up the future, and then taking that story and honestly bringing it to a conclusion. So for us, it was always going to be about, that story. We talked, it used to be called the Dreadwolf, now it's called the Veilguard, but it's always been about taking a specific story, bringing it to an end, and building it into a fantastic single-player RPG, so.
We wanted you to be the hero of your own adventure. And I think that was always the North Star.
Yes.
And I think we executed on it. And that's why it's like, get in the game, play it, choose who you want to speak to, choose your consequences, and live with them. And I can't wait to get some feedback from you guys.
I mean, in that time, obviously Dragon Age games change pretty substantially in between each one, and now we're getting this big leap with Veilguard. But also, if you look at kind of the fantasy RPG space in that time, games like Witcher 3, Baldur's Gate have come out, and I don't know, how does it feel from your side of things? Because it feels like there's this renewed interest in that type of game. What other things are you looking at in terms of, something that they've maybe have done and like, oh, I wish we could have done that?
Honestly, it's been just fantastic to see the RPG space open up. I mean, fantasy RPGs, obviously, over the past year, but even over the past decade, have really grown into a genre that attracts a large audience. And for us, it's exciting to know that there's such a large audience looking for something like what we're giving them, looking for a new story, a new set of characters, a new game. And I mean, I don't think there's ever been a case where you looked at somewhere and said, oh, I wish we could do that. We've always kind of known what the game we're building is, but taking lessons, taking things that, we've seen other people do and integrating them into our own game, it's been a fantastic opportunity, honestly. And yeah, I mean, it's really exciting to go into this market where, again, people are hungry for more fantasy, people are hungry for more storytelling in this space.
You mentioned like people are hungry for it. RPG fans are voracious when it comes to like just moving from one game to the other. And this new Dragon Age, the stakes are really high. So there's going to be a lot of people coming to the game that are new to it and entering, and basically everything's on fire. So how do you approach like making sure that the stakes are clear for newcomers who haven't perhaps been, following the journey all the way along, and also make sure that it's hitting to the level of grandeur that veterans need?
So one of the things we did when we built this game is, especially when you go into the prologue, and we've talked about this before, we wanted to feel like the final mission of a different game. We really wanted to set the stakes early and do so in a way that allows us to, again, for fans who've been with the franchise for a while, fans who've played Origins, DA2, Inquisition, there's a lot there for them that they're going to be able to jump into that's just feels like going home again, but also for new players we don't want new players to feel like they have to go back and play all those games, see all that media. So it's been a balancing act, but I think what's been really fantastic about it is, again, going with that philosophy of we want it to be respectful of what's come before, but also open and inviting to new players. And I think once you jump in, especially in the prologue, we onboard you pretty quickly. You understand the stakes, you understand what's going on, and your character's also learning about these stakes and the grand, like what's going on kind of at the same time as you are in some cases.
Yeah, it really unfolds, and the writing did such a good job of fusing the past with the future, and you can see that in the characters that are coming back that I can't talk about.
I was gonna say, I was like, keep going.
A couple. I mean, we've shown them already, but yeah.
Nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, I mean, obviously, characters are so important in Dragon Age games. Where do you start with building companions? Are there specific archetypes that you want to, like, roles to fill in the team, or is it just, you know, like pen to paper and see what kind of comes out and who emerges from it?
It's kind of a push and pull process between the story and the characters. We kind of know what we want the story to be, and then we look what characters make sense in the context of the story. But then obviously as the characters develop, sometimes that changes where the story is going. Maybe you'll find, oh, we're building this character, they have this really unique perspective. Maybe we need to change the critical path of the game a little bit to allow them to use that perspective in an interesting way. So, I mean, and it's not just the writers, it's also the visual designers. Ashley can talk about the casting process for them as well.
I like the performances. I mean, the writing just, you know, they lay out with our companions, for example. I'm doing this big circle because it feels like, you know, the Veilguard is your on guard around Brooke. And, you know, we wanted characters that offer the most difference, the most choice, right, to bring along on your party. So how can these 7 followers really, you know, diversify, you know, juxtapose each other, fight with each other? How do they get along? Like, to make sure that each one is unique and has their own arc and they feel fully developed. And I think they really did that.
Well, and I think the other interesting thing too about the casting is as we bring these actors in, we start to learn their voices, and that changes the characters as well. So, I mean, again, it's always a push and pull across all these multiple different teams, because there's also gameplay considerations that you need to take in mind. What roles can they fit on the team? Does it make sense with them? But it's really probably the most exciting part of the project for me is seeing these characters take shape and turn into what I would almost say feel like real people. Like you start to like, oh no, you know, Scout Harding wouldn't like that, or, you know, that's something Pilar would be super interested in. And then you find these opportunities to bring them into the story, bring them into the main story, but also giving them their own arcs that exist parallel to that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that actually from a casting perspective, especially because I was reading up on Varric, and who he was intended to be and what he became was very different, because he needed to be like supportive of the main character. So he shifted in a lot of ways. How much input do you have where it's like, oh, if we made the characters more like this, I feel like this actor could play it better, or the actor is like this, we should change the character. Do you have that kind of back and forth?
I mean, it's an immense collaborative process, game dev. And people are like, why would it take so long? It's like, we're working together and we're iterating as we go, and we're listening to each other and what the actors are bringing and how they're saying different lines. And like John said, it influences the writing. So there was definitely a back and forth with different characters, and actors have lots of opinions, as they should. We all do. So it was a push and pull and a collaboration. But at the end of the day, the story, you know, is so vast. And, you know, John holds it in his head. I know a piece of it, you know, the actors know a piece of it, and it all really needs to fit together. And that's like the vision holder. And so John's done a really good job of balancing the me, give me this, you know.
Well, I think, but it's kind of what Ashley said earlier. It's all about collaboration. I always have touch points with Ashley, touch points with Matt Rhodes as creative director, but also as a writer, I have touch points with the various people, you know, people doing the art for the characters, their missions. And again, it just, you find these characters, find these actors, and you do want to obviously have certain boundaries on where the character can shift, because as soon as they shift too far, they no longer make sense in the story. But we always want to have that flexibility. And I think for me and Ash, and honestly the entire team, it's good ideas can come from anywhere, and you should listen to them, because people who know these characters, some of them are going to know their own characters, you know, better than you do. And it's always about listening and hearing what they have to say.
Have you prepared the actors for kind of what it's going to be like for them once the game launches? Because so many fan favorites, and even, you know, we've seen with previous Dragon Age games, like just their career is going to completely change, and people are going to really attach themselves to those characters. Are they prepared for that?
Gosh, how much can you say to someone those words until you feel it? I think it's a whole different thing.
Well, I think especially, and I mean, it's funny because in the case of Ash and I, we're not entirely sure how it's going to change.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been in these roles before, so it's just learning and seeing what. But I mean, I've been at BioWare for 17 years, Dragon Age for most of that time. Seeing how excited and passionate the fans are, it's something that you can't really tell someone. They have to see it themselves. And I mean, we've had some of the our voice actors out here, and they've expressed surprise. We did the signing yesterday, and I think one of them came up and said, yeah, I came up and I saw this giant lion. And he's like, who's that for? I was like, oh, no, that's for you. And it's just this like excitement and this realization that these are people who, like, our fans have been waiting so long for another Dragon Age, and now they're finally getting it. And so, I mean, again, I'd like to say I could prepare them, but I'm not entirely sure because it's been a while, and I'm excited to see how it goes too.
I'd love to know more about your mindset when it comes to gameplay continuity, because each of the games play different in some pretty large ways, which is not traditionally how games are approached, right? Like they kind of carry mostly over gameplay-wise, but Dragon Age is always shifting. So how do you find that balance between making sure that the gameplay that you're presenting is fresh and unique, or has a fresh and unique take for the franchise, but also making sure that there's enough familiarity there for like returning players to feel comfortable to a degree, and also like enshrine that kind of like approach that you have to make each game different?
Each game at its core focuses on making sure the combat feels strategic and tactical. We always want to have that element of you have to think your way through the fight as much as you have to, use the more moment-to-moment combat. But I think in each case is what is the right combat for this game? What's the right gameplay for this game? In the case of, Origins was one thing, DA2 was another, Inquisition was yet a third thing, but each one builds on the lessons of the last one. So I think, again, Veilguard's combat is all about, finding that strategic layer, finding that tactical layer, and also bringing the moment-to-moment gameplay up as well.
Well, John, Ashley, thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited to see more of the Veilguard. Can you give us a hint as to when it's coming out?
Fall 2024.
Doesn't it sound sweet?